Have you ever wondered what you'd do if you were lost deep in the woods with no path home? And only your courage, your cleverness, and a little bit of love to guide you? Well, this is the story of two brave little souls, a brother and sister, who were left alone in a forest only to find a house made entirely of candy, and something inside far more dangerous than hunger. So gather close, because this magical journey is filled with twists, traps, and the kind of courage that even grown-ups forget they have. Long ago, in a tiny cottage beside a thick, whispering forest, lived a poor woodcutter with his two children, a boy named Hansel and a girl named Grethel. Their mother had passed away when they were very young, and the woman who now kept their home, well, she didn't have a heart as warm as a fire. The family was struggling. Day after day, the woodcutter would bring home less and less, and food became scarcer than sunshine in winter. One night, after the children had gone to bed with growling stomachs, the woodcutter sighed deeply and spoke to his wife. "What will become of us?" he whispered. "We barely have bread for ourselves. How can we feed Hansel and Grethel?" His wife leaned in, her eyes cold. "We'll lead them deep into the forest tomorrow, give them a little bread, build them a fire. Then we leave, alone. That way we might survive." The man's heart nearly broke. "No, I can't leave my children in the woods. Wild animals. They'll find us dead if we don't," she snapped. "Better two gone than four." The poor woodcutter said nothing more, but tears rolled onto his pillow that night. What they didn't know was that Hansel and Grethel hadn't fallen asleep. From their tiny beds, they had heard everything. Grethel trembled and clung to her brother. "They're going to leave us." Hansel held her hand and whispered, "Don't be scared. I have a plan." When the moon rose high and bright, casting silver beams on the cottage walls, Hansel quietly slipped outside. He filled his pockets with small white pebbles that gleamed like stars. "Sleep now," he said to Grethel when he returned. "I'll make sure we find our way back." Before the sun had even yawned over the treetops, the stepmother woke them roughly. "Time to gather wood," she barked, handing them each a slice of bread. "Don't eat it too soon. That's all you'll get." Hansel tucked his in his pocket. His real focus was elsewhere. As they walked into the thickening forest, Hansel paused often, looking back. "What are you staring at?" asked his father. "Our white cat," Hansel replied softly, "sitting on the roof. I wanted to wave goodbye." "You fool," the stepmother said. "That's just sunlight on the chimney." But Hansel wasn't waving at any cat. With each stop, he dropped one of his shining pebbles along the path. After walking deep into the woods, the father and stepmother lit a fire and told the children to rest. "We'll be just beyond, chopping wood," they said. Hansel and Grethel sat close to the fire, their tummies growling. At noon, they nibbled on their bread. They heard a soft thumping, like an axe, but it was only a branch tied to a tree, swaying in the breeze. Hours passed, then came silence. And still, no parents returned. As the fire died down and darkness swallowed the trees, Grethel began to cry. "Don't worry," Hansel whispered. "When the moon comes out, we'll follow the pebbles home." And they did. The moon rose like a glowing lantern in the sky, and each pebble sparkled beneath its light. Hand in hand, the children walked through the woods until, just as the sun painted the sky with color, they reached their little cottage. Their father gasped. "You're home!" he cried, his eyes filled with tears, but their stepmother scowled. "Lazy brats, sleeping in the forest!" Still, they were safe, but not for long. Weeks later, the hunger returned, and this time, worse than before. That night, the stepmother hissed again. "We must get rid of them, this time farther, so far they won't find their way back." Again, the children heard it all. Hansel tried to sneak out for pebbles, but the door was locked tight. "It's okay," he told Grethel. "I'll think of something else." The next morning, they were dragged from bed and given one tiny piece of bread each. As they walked into the woods again, Hansel crumbled his bread in his pocket and dropped tiny bits along the path, but this time, birds were watching. By noon, they reached a place so deep, even the sun barely whispered through the trees. A fire was made, and once again the children were left. And once again, no one returned. When the moon finally rose, Hansel and Grethel stood up. But when they looked for the breadcrumbs, there were none. Every crumb had been gobbled up by the birds. Hansel tried to stay brave. "We'll find our way. We just need to keep walking." They walked all night, then the next day. They ate berries when they could find them. They cried when they couldn't. And when night fell again, they curled beneath a tree and tried not to feel afraid. On the third morning, they were so weak they could barely stand. That's when they heard it. A soft song, high and sweet. A bird, white as snow, perched on a branch. It sang a tune so lovely their fears slipped away. Then, just as the final note drifted into the breeze, the bird flew. "Let's follow it," Hansel said. They chased the bird through thickets and tangled vines, deeper and deeper, until they came upon something unbelievable. A cottage. But not just any cottage. This one was made of bread and cakes. The windows sparkled like sugar. The roof smelled of ginger. The air around it shimmered with warm cinnamon. Hansel grinned. "Grethel, we're saved! I'll eat the roof. You try the window." They giggled and munched, and then a voice called from inside, "Tip-tap, tip-tap, who's nibbling at my house?" "The wind," Hansel answered quickly. "Just the wind." The door creaked open. An old woman appeared, stooped and wrinkled, leaning on a cane. Her eyes, though dull, darted about like a hungry cat. "My sweet children," she cooed. Come in. You must be so tired." And so they followed her inside. A warm table waited, filled with milk, pancakes, apples, and nuts. In the back room were 2 beds with soft white sheets. For the first time in days, Hansel and Grethel felt safe. But all was not what it seemed. That woman, she was a witch. Her cottage was a trap built for lost children. She'd fatten them, bake them, and feast. The next morning, while the children still slept, the witch grinned over their beds. "Plump little cheeks," she murmured. "Soon, a fine meal." She grabbed Hansel and threw him into a cage. He shouted and kicked, but the bars were strong. Then she turned to Grethel. "Wake up, you lazy bones. Cook something good for your brother. He needs to fatten up." Grethel sobbed, but the witch only cackled. Hansel was fed pancakes and sweets every day. Grethel got crab shells and bones. Each morning, the witch would rasp, "Stick out your finger, boy. Let me feel your fat." But clever Hansel held out a tiny chicken bone, and the nearly blind witch would scowl. "Why aren't you growing?" After weeks of waiting, the witch lost her patience. "Fat or not, I'll eat him tomorrow. Grethel, fetch water. We bake first." Poor Grethel wept as she obeyed. "Dear God, help us now," she whispered. The oven blazed hot. The witch grinned. "Check if it's ready," she barked. "Crawl in." Grethel trembled. "I don't know how. Show me?" "You silly goose," the witch growled, leaning over. "Look, like this." And with a shout, Grethel pushed the old hag into the oven and slammed the iron door shut. The witch howled. Then silence. Grethel ran to Hansel's cage. "She's gone. We're safe." Hansel burst out like a bird from a cage. They hugged, cried, and laughed all at once. Then they looked around. The witch's house held treasure, pearls and gems in every cupboard and drawer. "These are better than breadcrumbs," Hansel joked, filling his pockets. Grethel stuffed her apron with sparkling stones. Then they left. But the forest wasn't done with them yet. After hours of walking, they came to a wide river. No bridge, Hansel said. No boat, Grethel frowned. But then, a duck, pure white and gently gliding on the water. Grethel sang sweetly, little duck, take us across. We're tired and lost and light as moss." The duck paddled over and carried them one by one. Soon after, they saw something familiar: trees, rocks, and finally, their father's house. Their father, pale and thin, ran to them with tears falling freely. "I've missed you every day," he cried. "I feared you were gone forever." They told him everything: the witch, the cage, the oven, the jewels. And the stepmother? She was gone, vanished like a shadow in the wind. Grethel untied her apron and let the gems tumble out. Hansel followed with his pockets. They never hungered again. But more importantly, they never gave up on each other. Because no matter how lost you feel, when you have someone by your side, a hand to hold, a heart to trust, you can always find your way back. If you loved this magical journey through courage, cleverness, and a candy cottage, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more heartwarming fairy tales. And be sure to press the bell icon so the next adventure finds you the moment it begins.